Hello,
Hello,
everyone.
everyone.
That didn't work.
That's the spookiest opening we've ever done. Hello, everybody. I'm Bradford.
And I'm Bradford.
And this is Spooky Time with Bradford and Bradford. Today, we are talking about A Quiet Place, Part 2. And Bradford, I'm sure we'll be comparing both films, but let's get right to it. Did you enjoy A Quiet Place Part 2 just as much as A Quiet Place? A little less, a lot less, a little bit more?
That's a good question, because when I saw it originally, I would say it was like on par. And now, like, looking back kind of like technically at it for like breaking down each ranking each category that we have, I'd say probably a little less. But in terms of like watching the movie and not analyzing it, I would say yes. And that's the most important part.
That's true. It was a fun ride. It's fun seeing the characters again. It's fun knowing that most of them are still alive and triumphant by the end. By the way, we're going to be reviewing this movie, everybody, and we might give spoilers. So if you haven't seen A Quiet Place, you'd be forewarned. All right. So, there we go. Quiet Place Part 2 is what we're talking about today. And before we get into giving it a score, before we get into all that stuff, one of the reasons why I wanted to make sure that we reviewed A Quiet Place Part 2 is because it's the first, not only the first spooky movie, but it was the first movie that I've seen in the big theater after the pandemic. So what did you think
Not
about
really after.
What's that?
Not really after the pandemic.
That's true. After I pretended the pandemic was over because they opened the movie theaters. Let's see. Do you want to talk about plot and themes, or should I?
Let me tell you about plot and themes.
Tell us about plot and themes, Bradford.
The plot of the movie is basically they keep going. After A Quiet Place Part 1, like the intro is basically a prequel when like things are normal and they're like having a baseball game, and then the thing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's just like a pretty direct continuation.
They are still I think there's still fire going, right? From the
Right, yeah. I think it just directly picks up because they're like in the room where they did the shotgun.
Yeah, they got the baby, and they're gonna travel with the baby, and they've got the little air tank for the child.
Yeah, so they meet up with their neighbor who's like, I don't want to help you because I have grief. And she's like, me too. And he's like, oh, okay, let's help each other.
I still don't want to help you.
Yeah, and then I'd say she's the main character, runs off to try and find this place she heard on the radio because their friend has a radio and it keeps playing Somewhere Beyond the Sea. And she's like, we got to go somewhere beyond the sea. And so he follows her because the mom basically begs her to help save her daughter. And then he meets up with her and they have like a whole buddy cop routine of like, I don't like you. Well, I don't like you. Type of deal. It's like, I don't need your help. And it's like, I don't need your help.
I don't want to help you, but I help you anyway.
Yeah. And so they find an island city. They get like, what are the synopsis? The synopsis called them feral humans.
Yeah, the Wikipedia synopsis says feral humans, but I don't know if they were feral. They just
they're just bad.
It seemed like they were survivors that had a system. This is the dock people.
Yeah, because it's like a crying girl at first. So like, they had a plan.
Now, why are the dock people trying to trap them in the first place? To eat them? They're not gonna rob them. You like steal what stuff have you got?
I think they were gonna rob them. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, that's the dock people. They go to the island, and like everything's okay at the island because the creatures can't swim, which involves, brings up a lot of questions about how they invaded this world, which is 70% water. Like, did they they send them to each continent and then each individual island? Anyway.
Yeah. Do you think Hawaii is fine?
I hope Hawaii is fine. But yeah, so they get there, and then like life's like kind of normal, and then it's like, oh no, life's not normal because the guy got on the boat, and then they get to the radio station, which was the plan all along, and then the plan succeeds. And while this is happening, there's like kind of like this A plot and this B plot of the son, baby, and mom at home. Yeah, I don't know. I think that's my main qualm, is like the kind of splitting up. Like, because I get that it's like suspenseful. It's like, oh no, but not everybody's like together as a family, and like,
yeah.
But it felt like nothing happened back at like
it felt like the main thing that was going on was that the brother is supposed to take care of the little baby.
Yeah, like that whole half of the movie seems like it took place for like 15 minutes, because like they get chased a couple times, like have a couple like heart-to-hearts, I think. And he gets like stuck in
the whatever, the airtight thing.
The furnace, I think. You
go in there, it's like, we lock this, we got a clock, and hopefully we're not locked in here.
And then the other half of this is plot and theme. And watching it in the theater, I did go a little bit out of immersion, like right at the very end. And not in like a very overt way, but I just felt like the theme of like, oh no, the old people can't do it, so now the youth are saving everyone, and they're saving the older generation. It's like,
just like Gen Z is going to save our planet.
Yeah, that's probably why I don't like it.
It's like, that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's like, thanks so much. Like, that we didn't want this.
So my generation's like, the guy's like, look, I lost stuff already. I don't want to do anymore. Like, I quit. You want to do it? Go ahead.
Yeah.
And then he gradually decides to get on board, which is like me. It's like, I guess I'll recycle. Okay, I'll use a paper straw. That's the most I'm going to do. So what score would you give plot and themes?
I gave it a 7.5. Because I think it is, like, tight, because it's, written. What? It's
tight because it's written.
It's well written and like well developed and also well executed, I'd say. But like, I think it's one of those things where it doesn't feel like a plot that lends itself to scary situations, except for like the kind of like divisive ones where it's like the monsters are really good for scary situations. The like little trap that they get trapped in. But it does feel like more of an action movie where it's like, okay, where do you want to go? To the island? Then go, I guess. Here we go. What's going to happen? These creatures aren't that sentient, so why would they invade Earth? And I think a really cool idea would be like, it's like bio-warfare, basically, by like a really intelligent alien species, so they just send these in, cleanse the planet, and then go in after like years. But they didn't hint at that at all. And I think it's because they're trying to create a weird, like, family-friendly type of scary movie, if that makes sense, where it's just, like, this immediate danger and nothing, like, sinister or malicious is happening. It's just, like, monsters that are creatures that don't have any, like, ill intent. They're just monsters. So I think they could.
And they don't even seem like animals in the sense of, oh yeah, this is how they breed, and this is how they raise their young, and this is how, it just seems like, yeah, they're creatures and they do, one thing, and that's smash and kill a lot of people. Yeah. So I think since it's a sequel, I don't know that they even eat people.
They don't. It
seems like they just bam.
Yeah.
And they move on to the next one.
I don't think we've ever seen them eat.
Yeah. Well, I also scored it 7.5. Got my notebook here.
That's what friends are for.
Yeah, for those of you that have watched Spooky Time with Bradford and Bradford before, you know that you normally just kind of off the cuff we give our answers, and then I've been wondering if that influences each other, so that's why we've written them down, and so far we're in sync. So let's move on to the next one. Acting and characterization. I'll go first, and I'll try to be quick. For the most part, I think that the mother character is pretty solid, but I don't know that she and the brother character really have that much to do in the same way that it seemed like the first film brings out a lot more opportunities, and I love the daughter character. I love Regan's character in the first movie and also in this one.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts on acting and characterization?
Yeah, I also think like the strongest point of the movie is Regan, the character. I also really like that actress. I think she does a great job. I wanted to see a little bit more development of the brother character. Because I think he is more timid in both movies, and I think he could have had like an arc there. Like he does like very brave things in the movie, but they're not like significant to his character development, if that makes sense.
I'm not sure that I feel like Regan has had a coming of age arc.
Yeah,
I'm not sure that the brother character has.
Yeah, and I would have liked to see that.
All right. So the score I gave it an 8.5.
I did too.
All right, we're in sync. That's good. See, we know what we like.
We know
what's good and what's not good and what's like a B. All right, setting and tone. Tell us about setting and tone, Bradford.
Yeah. I talked about it a little earlier with the sort of open world feeling of the plot, and I think that like bleeds into the setting a little bit too. In terms of physical setting, I liked all of the things. Like I really liked like at one point she goes through like a train that's been like long abandoned because it's been like, a couple years in this post-apocalyptic world. I like how he set up like the iron foundry. I think that's really cool. And like the sound trap was really neat. So that aspect of like the set and the world building through the set was really good.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, though. It does feel like we have a thriller sci-fi horror that's PG-13, but it's how Jurassic Park has a family thriller kind of thing to it as well.
Yeah,
that's sort of the vibe I get from A Quiet Place 2 is a little more.
And you know what my favorite part of Jurassic Park is?
What?
The velociraptors, because those are evil. Yeah. They're evil. Everybody else is neutral dinosaurs. Those are evil, and that's why I like them. But yeah, I think in that way, the tone made it feel, I think, safer than it could have picked up.
So what'd you give it?
I gave setting and tone an 8.
I also gave it an 8.
Oh no!
All right, well, Bradford is going to go get ready for a night out on the town. So we're going to do part 2 of A Quiet Place Part 2 very soon. And see. All right, spooky time friends, we're back. It's been a moment for you, but it's been days and days for us. I'm in a different state, different time zone. So moving on with visual effects and sound effects. Bradford, what did you think of the visual effects and sound effects in this flick?
Yeah, spoiler alert. I think, I gave this one a 10. I was debating on giving it like a 9.5 because I think it's because like the iconicness of, I don't know, the franchise has like stirred up such like respect and adoration for sound design in movies, and I think that alone is really impressive.
Here's the thing. I gave it an 8.5.
Whoa.
So now we have a difference. now we can talk about things. So and maybe this isn't fair, but I gave it an 8.5 because I thought that it was a very solid continuation of what had already been established in the first film.
Right.
So I'd probably give it like 9.5 because the sound design is so incredible in the franchise, I guess we could say, but it's pretty cutting edge use of sound, and as the sound as the plot and the sounds the creatures make, and the creatures themselves are pretty cool looking. but I don't think that A Quiet Place 2 takes things up a notch. And that's kind of what I want a sequel to do.
So now we're getting it. I think this is the first time we've reviewed a sequel to a movie.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of baggage that comes with being a sequel,
Yeah.
especially to like a really good movie and a movie that garners all this like adoration from fans, is that like what is fair to expect from a second movie? Like, is it supposed to be just as good? Is it supposed to be better? Is it supposed to be same? Is it supposed to like continue? I think we talked about the plot a lot and like what should happen next.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think I have an answer. I think in this category specifically, I tried to like shy away from like my natural cynicism of like the movie it's not the same as the original and like but yeah, I just really like that it the franchise like brought appreciation for sound design specifically in horror movies, because I think that is really important, and I like that it's like called attention to it.
But it's a pretty cool monster, especially when it gets disrupted by the the sounds, and you can kind of see it's
well, like the whole head is an ear, and I really like that. I think the design of Alien is really good because it like includes body horror, which is always like body horror and like alienness is always a really good combination. And the design specifically makes the creature like unincomprehensible, if that makes sense. And I think in this movie you need a little bit of understanding from the alien, because the one like feature of it that's the most important is that it has like super hearing. So making the whole head like basically all ears, and having the audience understand that it's all ears, I think is important, like a good use of design.
Spookiness.
Spookiness.
All right, so spookiness. I guess you went first last time, so I'll go first this time. So I gave spookiness a 7.5 because I thought that it creates good tension, but here's the thing: you used the phrase earlier in our video talking about like, yeah, this is like a sort of family thriller, and there was something that about this particular movie in the franchise where I was never as scared for the family as I was in the first film. So in the first film, I probably give the spookiness at least like an 8.5 or a 9, because when they kill off their youngest kid at the beginning of the first movie, I'm like, all bets are off.
Every single one of these kids could die.
Yeah,
and then,
this might just be, everyone might be dead by the end, or one person's alive, but they're doomed or anything like that. Now, I think having the kid, the little baby, that does create like a level of tension. But
they're not gonna kill
the babies. So spookiness, what are you gonna give it?
I also gave it a 7.5. So all of our scores are the same except one. Yeah, I think there's a certain. Let's talk about Alien more, because I don't think we've done that enough.
Go back to Alien.
I guess alien-based horror gives you a lot of things to work with in terms of how to scare your audience. And I think one thing that didn't carry over to the sequel was a sense of like alienness. Like, I think there's a sense of like familiarity with the enemy, because it's like they can't hear too good and they're good at running and killing. They can hear too good. That's the one thing.
They hear way too good.
They hear way too good. They're blind, maybe, and yeah. But yeah, you kind of know what you're up against, which takes away from like the shocking and like awe of like this other species that is maybe designed to kill you. So I think they lose an opportunity for terror there. And I think, yeah, the tension that is created is really nicely created, but it is that sort of sense of like thrilling action rather than like, oh shit, we're gonna die.
All right, everybody, we've done, after calculating it way too many times.
Grueling.
My mathematical brain and the calculator and a little help from Bradford over there, right over there. We come up with a score of 81.5, so it gets a B minus. So good job, Quiet Place. Bradford over there seemed to like the visual effects quite a bit more than I did,
think it's
but
cool.
I still thought it was pretty solid stuff. All right, everybody. Well, I'm Bradford.
And I'm Bradford.
And this is Spooky Time with Bradford and Bradford. Until next time, stay spooky.